Hey, folks, welcome to the Accessible Hunter podcast. I'm Greg Trainer along with my co host, Mike Cutson. And today we're joined by somebody that we've both been following for a really long time, Ian Mackay. And Ian is from out in Washington State. And we'll get into his story here in a minute. But, Mike, what's going on in South Carolina, brother?
Oh, dude, just trying to keep up with you guys living the dream, man. Quad life's always one of those interesting things. Every day you wake up something a little bit different.
It definitely is, dude. And I know we're getting ready for Christmas and hopefully getting all the shopping done and taking care of people around us. But I've been looking forward to this date on the calendar for a while because I've been
Yeah.
following Ian and Ian's ride for years. And for those that don't know, your story, Ian, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'd be happy to, Greg. And yeah, thanks for having me. It's really good to get to chat with you guys for a little while. Um, I am a C2, C3 high quad. Um, complete, paralyzed from the neck down, can't move or feel much below the neck. So in 2008, I was riding my bicycle home from college. I was going to UC Santa Cruz. My academic background was biology. Really wanted to kind of take, maybe work in the community college world or university space and, take people out into nature and kind of, teach them about, or at least just show them the things that kind of fired me up and it made me really happy. And yeah, and California was a beautiful place. However, I was riding home from UC Santa Cruz one afternoon and was going a little bit fast, hit some sand in the path, and went headfirst into a tree. And so
Wow.
I then spent the next 3 months at Santa Clara Valley Medical Center, kind of learning how to live as a paralyzed man. I was extremely fortunate that both of my parents kind of dropped everything and just kind of were there for those 3 months because I'm not sure I could have taken in all the information that was thrown at you in those early days. It's
Yeah.
overwhelming, especially when you're you know having such a new outlook in life. At that point. Anyway, I no longer could live with roommates in college, and so I moved with family up into Port Angeles, Washington, and that's kind of where I live now. The first few years, I mean, miserable. I I think so many of us, we think about what we had lost, and we think about all these plans and these ideas that we had going forward, and how those are just kind of slipping through our fingers. And and that's kind of where I was. I spent most of my time kind of watching the Andy Griffith Show and I Love Lucy, and really spending a lot of time just moping.
Yeah.
I'm super fortunate to have this awesome community from college. A lot of good friends that just kept coming to visit, and they kept kind of pushing me to do more. And I within a year after my injury, I went and visited, or went back down to California for one of my best friend's weddings. And I think just doing that, made me realize I could maybe do a little bit more. Then I met another high quad. His name was Todd Stubblefeldt, affectionately known as the Quad Father, and he was really kicking ass. And he was, he was successful. He was very independent. He had a job, he had a relationship, and he was doing things on his own. And when I, saw someone with a similar injury to me, or at least similar level of function, kind of really succeeding and happy and just kicking butt. It made me think, okay, I need to kind of get off my ass and start really exploring.
Yeah.
And so one thing when I was in college, I really enjoyed doing was bike touring. I just kind of got introduced to like riding across the state on a bike and kind of seeing the state in that unique way at 8 miles per hour. So it was a fun way to do it. And I just got involved with a professor who was doing these long rides, and I was the road crew for him for the first couple of years. And I never got to ride with him to do these bike tours. And so about 5 years or so after I was paralyzed, I was starting to do a lot more rides out on the local trails here. And I said, hey, maybe I could do that bike tour just a little differently and in a chair. And so I called him up and a couple other friends, and we rode across the state of Washington, kind of from north to south. It was over 10 days, I don't know, it's like 370 miles or something like that. And what was really
That's
awesome,
awesome.
what was really fun about my route planning though is that somehow I managed to figure it out where we could finish each day at a brewery, and
Hey, yes,
we could
sir.
we could uh, we could enjoy a cold one together and kind of talk about the day, and and it was special, right? I mean, I was getting to relive those experiences that I so sought after before I was injured, and here I was kind of having this wonderful time and being able to see Washington State at 7, 8 miles per hour is a really great way to do it. And you got the Americana, you got these farm equipment driving by with these farmers waving at you as you're going, or you got grandmothers out on their porches, sitting in their rocking chairs, waving at you as
Yeah,
you're going by. I mean, just the uniqueness of it all. But I think being able to do it with friends, right? It's all about community and being able to
yeah,
share those experiences with close people in your life. Anyway, it quickly became a little bit bigger than me. It wasn't just about going on a ride with friends and drinking beer at the end of the day. I was meeting like the mayor of Tukwila, a town here in Washington. I was invited to go talk with the governor at the end of the ride about complete streets and just accessible infrastructure and making
yeah,
design for all individuals. And he was a cyclist, and much of cycle infrastructure works well for chairs as well. And so kind of teaming up with that. Anyway, I then got approached by a couple attorneys who had been following my journey, and they really wanted me to kind of continue what I'm doing, and they encouraged me to start a nonprofit. And so
yeah,
since 2016, yeah, we started Ian's Ride, and been doing some really really cool things. So we kind of have three aspects to it. One is just outdoor accessibility, trying to do what we can. So when we're designing infrastructure, we're being considerate of all users, but also accessible technology. What allowed me to finally go out on that trail, independently on my own, was having access to a phone.
Hmm.
I was on a ventilator for the first year of my injury,
right.
and I still have never regained the ability to cough. I can, it's
Yeah,
about all I've got. And so sometimes I would need respiratory help if I'm, on my own. So having a phone, and a phone that's reliable and something I could depend on, I could call for help, have a caregiver or family member come out to the trail and use a cough assist machine and help me, cough up whatever the problem is. But
right.
yeah, so it was accessible technology that really enabled me to really enjoy and experience the outdoors. And I've been working with Apple now for 10 years, kind of consulting with them and trying to improve kind of hands-free technology, which does improve the experience for all users. But selfishly, I'm just able to do it for me, right? I'm able to improve.
You,
No, man,
you,
that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Ian, I'm so glad that you're telling your story because it's so much to tell. I mean, you've kind of glossed over the fact that, when you started off the 370-mile journey, just to let everybody know, I got my chair statistics today. I drove 62 miles this year in my Permobil,
Oh,
and
Greg.
you drove 370 in a week, and had the time to stop in brew pubs and have a couple beers with the boys and the the travelers along the way. So for you to go that distance using a sip and puff drive, I mean
Yeah.
that's the other thing, dude. You're using sip and puff. You're doing 30 miles a day. You've redone batteries. You've switched to the lithium. I mean,
Right.
you kind of glossed over a lot of the main things that you've done. And Mike and I are both recipients of using voice to text and having our cell phones listen to us, be able to call for help, to be able to text and work and all the things that you've done with Apple. I mean, these are the things why we're in awe having you on the podcast today. And it's just amazing what you're doing, dude.
Well, I've been just super fortunate to have these different opportunities and have people in my story who have kind of brought me along to like I mentioned, Todd Stobblethought, the quad father. I mean, he at 8 years old, he was they were playing with guns, and his cousin shot him in the neck, and he's a C3, C4 high quad, but he'd been working with technology most of his life, and mobile technology was kind of
New. Yeah.
that gold I always try to get. And yeah, anyway, he kind of brought me along, and having that relationship really allowed me to be more in the boardroom rather than the break room with
Right.
Apple, and that was really wonderful.
You know what's crazy, man, is I'm sitting here listening to your story, man, and not to bogart on it, but Greg, it just dawned on me. So I got to do the Marine Corps Marathon in 2023 with a partner of mine, and he's actually from Port Angeles, owns a house there.
Really?
Absolutely. And it's those relationships, like you said, those guys and girls willing to put some flesh in, man, and really allow us to get back to normality of life. And man, as soon as you mentioned where you're at, I was like, oh my gosh, that's where Cameron's living now. But
This is a small little town too,
hey,
Mike. And
hey, you know what? It's absolutely amazing, man, because he keeps inviting me out, says his house is accessible. I'm just gonna have to come out so we can hang
hey,
out, dude.
let's do it. I got a smart home here that also is fully accessible. I'd love to visit.
But man, your story is phenomenal, man, and it goes back to the resiliency, and just seeing how much more you want to pour into life, not only for yourself but others around you.
Yeah, and I think that's where I kind of left off talking about the nonprofit. It's three-tiered. I mentioned outdoor access, I mentioned accessible technology, but community, right? Like you're saying, it's who
Yes.
you know, right? Community is
Yep.
so important. And um, at that Quad Fathers, I think 25th quadversary, I met another high quad named Kenny Salvini, and after that meeting, he started a nonprofit, and he names me a co-founder, even though he's done all the hard work, but of the Here and Now Project. And the Here and Now Project is the largest peer support network in the Pacific Northwest. And we're holding weekly support groups. And I don't know, I think the information and just the positivity I gain from being involved in these weekly talks with people all over the country, you know, and
Absolutely.
and them expressing them challenges, and being able to offer some solutions, offer some resources, offer equipment that's working well for them. I don't know. I just think we're so much stronger together, and having ways to share that information is powerful.
That's one of the big things, Ian, is we're stronger together. And we talk about having the ability to reach out across the country and talk with people like yourself and, Mike's friend, Cameron. And, when you get down to it, we can't really do anything alone, but together we're so strong and we bounce ideas off of each other. And before you know it, you're on a 300-mile ride with friends. And, those rides turn into the Sea to Sound project,
Oh
and,
yeah.
the things that you're accomplishing with your friends from college and, your parents and the people you surround yourself with, it's just incredible because all of this takes planning, dealing with people with disabilities, getting them outdoors in sunny Florida is one thing, but to get them outdoors on the Pacific Trail, I mean, you're dealing with elevation, you're dealing with climate, uh,
Temperature, yeah,
temperature. I
definitely.
mean, do you want to talk about some of the challenges associated with that?
Sure. Well, so Sea to Sound, it's our kind of flagship event. I think we have six or seven events that we put on each year. But Sea to Sound is a 3 day, um, fully supported ride on the Olympic Discovery Trail. It goes about 75 miles. We do about 20 miles each day. And I started this because after doing that cross Washington State ride, um, well, actually, 2 years later, I did east to west from Idaho to Port Angeles, and that was closer to 500 miles. And there was a big obstacle called the Cascades in
Oh
my
yeah.
in my way, and so crossing those in a power wheelchair was interesting. But anyway, those really fired me up, and I think they got me to where I am now. They showed me what was possible and that there was always more I could do. And I wanted to kind of find a way to share that experience with the community, and get others out there. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to bring them on a week or 2 week long ride, but 3 days along this, trail that's right in my backyard that is beautiful and fully accessible. And I have this awesome community around me that could really help others do it. So this past year, to sound, I think we had 150 individuals. 40 plus of them were in chairs. We have companies like Mobility Works. They donated, I think, 4 minivans, and a driver, to help,
Yeah.
move people along. We have aid stations every 5 miles, and recognizing that, people's batteries and endurance are different. And so
Yes.
at that point, 5 miles, they can go get a lift to lunch or a lift to the end of the ride, whatever they need. But we have EMTs and bike and chair mechanics out on their bikes riding along with everybody. Another really cool thing is we invite dignitaries out there. So just people of influence in the trail or mobility world. This last year we had the COO of Invacare out, and they were
Right.
sitting in a chair for 5 miles, and getting them to spend 5 miles in a chair to get the kind of the experience that we do, and both see the challenges and the joy of
Yes.
getting out there and doing it in whatever way we can. I think it encourages them to start developing equipment for active lifestyles rather than just insurance
Absolutely.
companies. And so often you're designing for people going to a Walmart or moving around a nursing home, and
Right.
I
In
think
in home use only.
Yes.
exactly, right? And I think having them out there and seeing all these people with these amazing experiences and using their equipment to do so, um, they now, this coming year, or with their next iteration of their chair, they're looking first at an aluminum, powered chair so that we can go further, and also introducing lithium batteries as an option.
Right.
They're
Yep.
high-speed motors, which are great, but just having a little influence, just having the ear, to the company that's providing the equipment that allows me to do all the great things I do is pretty spectacular. And so, yeah, seeing them take it seriously and seeing them making change to their equipment so that we can kind of pursue more than we do now is pretty awesome.
It,
You're
and
right, man. It's all about raising awareness, but also introducing those people that have the know, that are in the lawmaking, law changing
Oh yeah.
situations. We can't do it on our own if we don't raise awareness. They don't know.
it,
And so, what are some of those challenges when you're dealing with the politics side of it that you see?
Yeah, well, a lot of it's just scheduling, right? Because you want them to
Oh
have this
yeah,
experience, wherever it is. Put them in a chair, let them see these others, let them see, these people are not just invalids sitting at home and watching
correct.
TV. They're living, and we need equipment to enable us to do that. And so that's more like on the manufacturing side. On the policy side, we've had senators and congressmen and all the mayors and county commissioners and stuff out in chairs. See this out. This is our 7th year, and so we've had a lot of chances to bring people out there, and I think it's hard to make them recognize the importance of accessible infrastructure without them having that experience. So
Hmm.
I think making sure that they you got to convince them first. You got to charm them in a way. You got to make it seem worth their while, and you dangle that carrot kind of, and you get them out there. But then they see. How this important, how much root buckling can really just screw up an experience, and how
Right.
much narrowness of a trail can limit the opportunity for just adventure, or having something like a speed bump, and just how much that's going to slow
Oh
you
yeah.
down and screw you up. And so just, be thoughtful in your design and be considerate of all users, and recognize that, the disabled community is also, going to be utilizing this stuff. So,
yes,
Not
sir.
to make light, man, but I'm sitting here thinking of speed bump. I've got that bolt on the bottom of my chair,
oh yeah, the
for
easy lock.
easy
Yep.
lock. You
Yep.
catch that baby, and it doesn't matter about speed bump. You got an instant stop.
That convenience of that easy lock. I won't do it. I won't put that pin under there because I get stuck too easy. I
Yep.
get
Right,
tight
right.
centered, and yeah.
And for those that don't know, the easy lock, whenever you're pulling into your van, it's like a trailer ball that sticks on the bottom of your chair, and you can pull in instead of being tied down now with 4 point restraint systems. And when I was driving my van initially and getting out more, independently that way, I did have the easy lock, but man, I don't put the easy lock on anymore either with being outdoors because it'll just bury in grass or what have you. So it
Or
is,
even going to someone's house, right? I mean, just getting
yep,
through their threshold or
threshold.
Catch the
something.
threshold, right?
Yeah, right. I
Or
mean, yeah,
carpet. You pull in somebody's
sure.
house, catch carpet and tear it up.
One
You're
of the
not
little
invited back. You're not invited back when that happens.
one of the little things squads have to worry about is thresholds. Everybody else just steps right over it, but a threshold and then a hard right turn or a hard left turn getting into somebody's house, and you don't want to mark their walls. And you got to be a good driver to be invited back for Thanksgiving. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. But yeah, Cedar Sound I mean, it's beautiful out here in the Pacific Northwest, and that trail goes through some of the nicest places around. But it's about the people. It's about all coming
Mhm.
together and and just I don't know accomplishing a goal together and being able to kind of just chat. And like I've mentioned over and over, sharing resources and sharing ideas and just sharing mindsets. I think and positivity, attitude can be so important.
Right. And you're speaking a lot about just community. And we need able-bodied assistance in just about every activity that we get into. That's not showing that we're needing a hand out, we're needing a hand up. And it's just about raising that awareness. But when you're dealing a lot of times with collaboration with volunteers and
Yeah.
whatnot, is it individuals that have had past history with folks in chairs, or a lot of times it's probably new individuals that you're dealing with that just have a heart to give back.
Yeah, a lot of it is just, big-hearted people that are out there, but also, most of us have someone in our lives with a disability, someone, in a
Right.
chair, and I think that brings it a little more personal, and
Mhm.
when that is the case, I think they see how this could benefit someone in their own life,
Yeah.
but I also think people want to feel needed, right? And people
Mhm.
Yes.
want to help when they can. And that's why we help, is we feel good for doing it. And so, when they see what we're doing and they see how they could help and how they can enable people, to have an experience like this, it's rewarding for them and they want to participate, they want to be involved and yeah, and I try to be active in the community. I play trivia. I go out to the local bars. And so you interact and you befriend all these people, and you just do
Yes.
what you can to expand that community and share your story and hope they're ready to sign on.
Ian, we get so much out of the outdoors with hunting and being able to
Yeah,
experience, the joy of nature, to see the sun come up and see the woods come alive. And what was your relationship with nature like before your injury? And has it changed since you become a person with quadriplegia?
yeah, right. So, before I was injured, it was science, right? It was the biology. I was a botany major mainly, and so
Right.
plants were my main interest, and learning about how they interacted with communities, how they interacted with other organisms, and just the intricacies of the biology of nature. I mean, that was really what drove me to keep going out. I mean, it seemed like I'd learn something new every time, but I think it was a more immersive, more interactive experience before I was injured. You'd be feeling a plant. You'd be, maybe digging into the woods more than I can now. Now I still have all that knowledge, and I can still greatly appreciate what I'm seeing out there. But I might not be able to go and feel the texture of a fern or just not interact in the same way with
Right.
natural space. But I think also, as a kid, like many of us, I was riding my bike and I was out catching lizards, and I went dove hunting with my grandfather, and those were experiences that were really memorable and really impactful for me, and I didn't want to let those slide away after
Yes,
paralysis.
sir.
Right. Getting back outdoors just has a way to center me. And
Yeah.
me and Greg talk about that weekly with different people on the podcast. And that's one of the things you made mention of your other nonprofit that you co-founded.
Yeah.
Just being able to interact with folks that are either newer injuries, old injuries, or whatever,
Yeah.
and just have that community to be able to share. Because we could talk to our able-bodied spouses, or we could talk to the people around us and whatnot, and they have every empathetic bone, and they want to do it, but they just cannot understand it, no matter how much we convey.
And you mentioned, those newly injured and the importance of just showing them what is possible and that,
Yes,
sure, their life has changed. And I know how difficult it was in those early days, but you have a rich and fruitful life ahead of you, and there's so much you still can do. And let's find the ways to still enjoy the things that you loved before you were injured, maybe in a slightly different way, but you can still pursue those joys.
Yes, sir. And it may not be the right time for somebody to hear that in
No.
rehab.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Mike and I both went to Shepherd Center at different times,
All right.
and I was injured at 31, and I was pretty self-centered, self-assured, uh, able-bodied, you know, could be dropped off anywhere in the world and I'd be fine. And
Yeah.
then become a quadriplegic. And at first, I had to use the sip and puff power
All
chair.
right.
My
All
my
right.
arms didn't work initially. Now as a C4 5, I've gotten arm movement back, but I wasn't ready to hear
No.
everything that was possible. But Shepherd Center and the mentors that came in put that seed in my head that years later I could draw on that and say, now I'm ready. And maybe not everybody's ready at the same time. I guess that's my point.
It took me a while, that's for sure. I mean, and I
mhm,
did have some
yeah,
peer mentors coming in, when I was in rehab, and I think we all think, oh, you're not like me. You don't know what you've lost. I've lost so
right,
much more, and and realizing we've all gone through the same challenges, and I think
Yep.
we all want to think of ourselves as unique there. But yeah, I think, like you said, just planting that seed, just knowing that there are people out there who are really, really kicking butt, and, despite
yeah.
their disability.
We try to liken it to everybody has to go through a mourning stage of their own, when it's a complete change of life. And so when we're dealing with people with injuries and whatnot, I was 23 years old when I got hurt, and just in the prime of my life, really kicking off and doing some good stuff. And you go from being able to be very vibrant, very over the top independent. Mine was a little bit on the cocky side. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you take it for granted. And then when that's gone, instantly, you fall back into another suit. It takes a little bit of a process.
Well, and then having to ask for help, right? I mean, I think you
Yes.
come out of that, and we do, you know, probably not even knowing it, value our independence so much. When we're right before I was 26, right? I was around that age
Yeah.
too, but then having to, humble yourself and be asking for help for most everything, and you
Yeah.
just it can really hit the ego. It can really, you know, affect your confidence. But I think going back to, that mindset of, people want to feel needed, people want to help, and people, feel good, after doing that. But
Yep.
Right.
And Ian, you had talked a little bit about, asking for help in your book. I just finished up your book, Ian Dried, which is just a wonderful book. It really puts things in perspective uh, about our lives and especially about your family and how caring and how much they've, uh, I don't want to say enabled, but how they've made things possible for you that, you know, you have a very good family that's willing to do anything that they can to help. And Mike and I are, both in the same situation with family and our spouses. And, you know, relying on family and friends and a sense of community can change how we feel about paralysis. I mean, we're able to accomplish so much because we do ask for help and our family responds. And I just wonder if you'd like to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, and like I was mentioning, I'm doing these support groups weekly, virtual and some in person, but you meet a lot of people who don't have those resources, don't have
100%.
the family, and don't have the strong community around them, and yeah, their journey is a lot longer than some of us that do have
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
strength of family and community behind us. And with those people, the best I can suggest is join these groups. Get involved with others. I mean, start building that community the best you can. I mean, if you
Hmm.
don't have it now, start making it happen. Just start with one person, connect,
Right.
and learn what you can, and then start doing what you can to kind of benefit the community, and and pursue your dreams, and inspire others. Do what you can to, I don't know, live and, well, yeah, make sure.
You've hit a lot of nails today, man. And it's about raising that community. It's about raising awareness. And two, people do want to help. People want to be involved in things around them. And if we can show a need, but also show the amazingness of it, a lot of times they get poured into even more so when they show up to these events, like your CEOs and whatnot that are coming out, putting their butt in the seat, maybe for the first time, even though they run a company like that.
Yeah.
It's actually seeing it from an empathetic side where, now they got a butt in the seat and they get a little taste of it. And it just brings so much more awareness to what's going on.
Yeah. Well, and I think, when we go out and do some impressive things, it also makes the able-bodied people say, what the hell am I doing? Right? If these guys,
Yeah,
I got a world record some years back for going 184 miles in one day. And if I can be paralyzed from the neck down and on a ventilator at night every night to sleep, and I can go out and do something like that, then
Right.
you need to raise your you have to raise your standards there.
you, you,
Yeah.
that 24-hour challenge, Ian. I mean, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, but my goodness, man, you made the most out of your 24 hours on
Oh,
that
jeez.
epic world record journey. Um,
Well,
you know, to plan that out and to take that on and take ownership of it. I mean, to do something like that, dude, that was just amazing.
no, and I love to make it sound glamorous, but it was the most miserable 24 hours. Well, doing anything for 24 hours straight is not all that fun, but yeah, I mean, it was so much planning. And so I mentioned I've been working for Apple for 10 years. I've done two big national commercials for them, introducing voice control to the world and also talking about switch control. Um, Doing that, I really got close with the producers and the film production company that Apple uses to do their commercials and such. We became really close, and that documentary I mentioned is from this team that Apple relies on for their quality, and so it's a super high quality. And they did so much of the documentary is around the world record, and they did a lot of it. Uh, the nitty gritty, notifying everyone on this island that we did the record on and what we're doing, and getting, road signs. And so it was really helpful to kind of have them. But organizing any of these big events, it just takes, you have to just walk yourself through it. Okay. From day one, from point A to the end, what needs to be done, what needs to be considered, what needs to be announced, what, financial needs are going to be required, what do you got to raise money
Right.
for, and and then you're always going to forget something, and then hopefully the next year you won't. Something that I haven't really shared much about with the world record is so I became aware of it after that 2018 ride from Idaho to Port Angeles, about 500 miles, and I wanted to know what was the furthest distance someone in a chair had ever gone. I mean, what? And so I look it up, and I find out there's this man from South Korea who had gone something like 12,000 miles over 18 months, all through Europe and even parts of Africa. And I mean, crazy what he had done. And it was like, well, I can't set aside 18 months to, you know, to outdo this fella. But I found out he also had another record, and that was this furthest distance traveled in 24 hours in a mouth controlled power wheelchair. It turns
Mm.
out the mouth controlled is further than than any other drive system. Um, but after I got my record, we kind of connected over social media, and we started talking, and we become pretty good friends. And he did an attempt just a few months back to see if he could get the record back. And unfortunately, his motors failed after 17 hours. And it was like, oh, I
Oh,
felt
wow.
for him because,
Oh,
that's rough. You're committed at that point. And,
Oh, yeah.
but,
he, he
but
needed
then,
an Invacare.
yeah, well, so then just 2 weeks ago, he did it again, and this time he did outdo it, and he's at I think 186 or 189, I think 189 miles, and
Wow.
so now it's starting to plan it all over again,
Balls
right?
back in
And
your court.
yeah, it's just cool having a global rivalry like this, and it's just connected us, and
Absolutely.
and now that we're talking a lot, and it's like the record is great, and but what might be more valuable, and again I've really expressed my importance of community, is I got a number of other people who really want to kind of push their limits and see what's possible. And so maybe the story really is I have him come over. He wants to come over to Washington from Korea. There's another gal named Tanya Finlayson who also managed a record using a chin drive. And so the three of us and probably three others might just all go out and see what the heck we can do. I don't know quite what the story is there, but we'll have that documentary team back out there recording it all, and whether it's about the importance of pushing limits, about the importance of you know just having friends and meeting other people and the
That's
inspiration
what it's
to
about.
do more, right?
Would,
But
wouldn't that be an amazing thing to have a group, set the record together and the
yeah,
camaraderie and the
I know.
encouragement? Because when you were doing it alone, that had to be grueling mentally that,
Yeah.
you're just grinding away and grinding and grinding. But I would be very interested in seeing the story of encouragement and
Yeah.
doing it together as a team. And heck, that might turn into like the next amazing race for people in chairs that how far can you and five of your friends go? And
Yeah.
you have to drink a beer at every pub you pass.
There we go. There
That
we
could be
go.
a
Hey,
stipulation.
I don't know. By the end of that 24 hours, you might not be driving as straight as you
nah.
as you should.
It's funny, man. Life is phenomenal,
Oh
and
yeah.
as quads, man, here we are. We get to laugh and joke about something that when we first got hurt, we thought was just ultimately going to be devastating and take our
Yeah.
lives away.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, but life is what you pour into it too, and so one of the terms that I've always struggled with is inspiration, being an inspiration, but over the years, and I know you two will understand it, it's actually doing what you said earlier. It's allowing people to see you in motion and just knowing, hey, life doesn't give up. Don't give up
Hmm.
on yourself. Get your butt out here and get to pushing. And let's just see what happens. Our lives are not scripted to a point where we know where it's going to go, and we're yet to know the potential of what we can get into.
Amen. And keep following your passions, right? Don't let, the chair be this limitation. Say, okay,
No,
how can I do this despite, in spite of what my challenges are?
right.
Yep.
And that's what it's all about.
And in your book, you mentioned, that your mom is also getting out on the trails. And I thought it was a really cool part of the story that she tried to get out every day for an hour on the trail and just kind of enjoy nature and a little stress relief and stuff. And during one of your trips, you were not so hyper focused on
It was through the
yourself.
world during the world record,
Yeah,
actually. It was
yeah,
yeah, it was during the
yeah,
world record.
yeah, exactly. And I just thought that was kind of amazing that during that, monumental journey, you took the time out to say, hey, you have to stop following in the I don't
And
want to call it a chase vehicle, but the roadside
that's
vehicle
what it was,
and,
yeah.
and made sure that she got out. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so a couple things there. So it was the pandemic, right? My mom was struggling, depressed. It was everyone was having their challenges, and I was telling her, that's kind of where I get rejuvenated, and I hadn't missed a day at that point in I don't know, 7 or 8 years of going out for at least a mile. And I said, here's what you need to do: just go out, go ride your bike, go walk, whatever you got to do, but be outside for, at least a mile each day. And so she started doing that. And that brings me to this past July. And this past July, I had this big, massive stroke, and I had a seizure that lasted for like 35, 40 minutes. And um, I was spent about 12 days in the ICU. So I lost my streak about 27 days from 10 years, which was
Wow.
unfortunate. But she was in the hospital with me there, and so she lost her streak. And I'll tell you guys, it's challenging losing your body, losing your function of your body,
Yeah,
but losing your mind, losing your brain is a whole nother thing.
absolutely.
And when I woke up from that in the hospital, I didn't know I had a book. I didn't know I had a world record. I didn't know I had so many of these things
Yeah.
that I had accomplished. And my memory, I mean, just having these big gaps all of a sudden in memory. And I think we all pride ourselves in our intelligence and our recall. And when all of a
Hmm.
sudden some of that is taken away, oh, it can really affect your confidence and your, I don't know, just perception,
Yeah.
of yourself. And so, these past 5, 6 months have been something. And I'm really fortunate that, so much of it's came back and that I, am where I am. But I've certainly developed a newfound respect for, people dealing with strokes and,
Yes.
other mental challenges like that. Because whew,
Right.
that's an ass kicker, guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. You bring enough awareness to so many avenues, and that's got to be one of the hardest things out there is to go through life, developing these memories and getting educated and being able
Yeah.
to convey those things. And like you said something earlier, we can't do the same things we used to do, but we have the knowledge to convey it to somebody else and to pour that passion into other people, and then to see within an instant, that can be changed as well. Just like folks with Alzheimer's and other things, you go through your entire life developing all this, and all of a sudden that changes. And we are all facing some type of disability, and if we're
Yep.
not there right now, we're heading that way. And so it's about developing community and strengthening the board that you're on.
It is, right. And I think I did recover as fast as I did because of so many people behind me. You're like,
Hmm.
you got too much going on. We gotta keep the ball rolling. And what do we got to do to help make sure that happens?
Yeah.
And yeah, just having that great support behind me. And I well, one of the fun things, guys, is I've got this full smart home, and Apple hooks me up with a lot of great gear, and coming home to all this really cool stuff was great. I'm like, where
Right.
did I get where did I get this? It's like, whoa.
It's
Or
all
like,
new development, man.
yeah, and then fortunately, I have been so well documented with the book and the documentary that was able to really fill in a lot of blanks, and so I've been fortunate that way too. But yeah, I was just life happens, guys. I mean, hiccups
Yeah.
come along, and you just got to roll with them, and it's how you do that. I think defines who we are, and I think that's how we're going to be remembered. But also, losing those memories, that's all you really get to take with you from all
Yes.
this.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when those are uh, taken from you, it's hard. But I've been
It,
fortunate to regain that.
you bring up a really good point there that, it's not about stuff. It's not about the things around us. It's about the memories that we make with the people that we love. And
Yeah.
the three of us are really fortunate that we've had a lot of years that, we were not guaranteed. We had traumatic injuries, uh, life altering to say the least. And every day we get a choice to wake up and make new memories, and to have those taken away, I think would be worse than losing our physical bodies.
Yeah.
And so thank you for sharing that. I didn't realize that. Um, I just, I wanted to kind of mention that when everything was going on around in your world record, you were still thinking of others, and it's not
Hmm.
all centered on you or the person with the disability. That we have to, respect the people around us and also find time for them and their needs.
100%, and recognize that set stronger together, but that we couldn't do some of the things that we do without
Right.
Right.
without their help. Yeah.
It gets back down to advocacy and awareness, man. We don't know what we don't know until we just don't know it. And,
100%.
here I am on year 30, going on 31, and there's so
Oh,
much out there I still don't know about paralysis. And, it's one of those things I'm eager to learn. Being able to talk to you today and just being able to share more and more about your journey, the journeys that are out there, and how many guys and girls that we don't know the amazing things that they're pouring out there just because they're not on social media.
yeah.
They're just out here getting it done. And I'm an old guy. Me and Greg, we joke around, and we didn't have Google and we didn't have all this stuff. Guys and girls, the new entries, pour into that, man. Find the community that's around you. Find these guys and girls that can just give you a leg up, man, and so you can get it off your chest and just talk.
Well, and I really appreciate that, what you guys are doing, right? I mean, you're bringing people on here, you're elevating their voices, and you're bringing people that are in the backwoods and may not be as well known, and you're letting them share their story with the world. And I don't know, I think there needs to be more folks like you guys who are out there sharing those stories, because again, it's all about knowing what's possible. And if someone else has done it, it's like, okay, I can do better.
And
Right.
that's so nice of you to say, and we really appreciate you. And it's almost Christmas time, and this is a special time for a lot of people. And what do you got planned for the new year? I know
Oh man.
August is the big ride, but what's going on? When does your documentary come out that we can catch that? Because I loved your book, and I'd really like to see the documentary. But
Yeah.
what's going to happen in 2026 for you?
Well, so right now, before we start sharing the documentary, I'm not real savvy in this world, but what it seems to happen is, first you have to premiere it at a film festival, right? And so
Right.
then it shows at a couple other film festivals. Then you hope to sell it to a production company, whatever, who then pitches it to a Netflix or an Apple TV or Paramount, whatever.
Right.
And so right now we've just started pitching to the film festivals, and we're expecting something to be picked up in the spring. And so it'll be somewhere around then, at least when it's released there. And then when it comes to theater near you or onto your Netflix, I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
uh, but what I'm excited about, well, keep making C to sound better. I mean, one thing I'm looking for right now, it takes 6 months of the year to plan this sucker, but we have a fun logo every year, and I try to, highlight people with disabilities to make that logo. We had a mouth painter, do it last year, and so I'm looking for another mouth painter right now to design our logo for 2026. That's current on the list, but every other year since 2016, I've been doing these big cross-state rides. I mentioned 2018 in East to West in Washington. Then 2020, I did the Redwood Coast. I went
Yeah.
from Brookings, Oregon, down to Fort Bragg, California. Um, Terrifying, because I was on the sides of roads, and you're on the Highway 1, and there's very little shoulder at all. And we did it, but after we finished that ride, I recognized I was putting my people in danger in a way, and
Yeah.
I then decided we were going to do everything on trails. We're going to focus on trails, and I kind of partnered with the Rails to Trails Conservancy, and
Hmm.
I've kind of been an ambassador for them for the past 4 years. But then in 2022, I think I did my favorite ride, and that was from Washington D.C. to Columbus, Ohio. And
Okay.
so first you have the C&O Trail, which goes from Washington D.C. up to geez,
Cumberland, Maryland, and then through.
Cumberland. Thank you,
Yeah,
Cumberland. That's the
no,
word I was looking for.
that's my area, Ian. So
All right,
I
yeah,
know
there,
it's beautiful.
there we go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so up to Cumberland, and then you take this Gap Trail from there
Yep.
up to Pittsburgh, and I mean those are spectacular, guys. But there's places on that C&O Trail where I was 20 miles from the closest pickup spot. And
Yeah.
when I'm doing 45-mile days, and all of a sudden you're 20, if your chair fails, I'm not sure what you do, but pushing 20 miles doesn't seem real practical, and you figure
No.
it out. But anyway,
No.
and then in 2024, I did the Katy Trail, which is across Missouri, which was also really fun. But So this year it's up for another one, and this year we're gonna do the Erie Canalway Trail. We're gonna go across New
Okay.
York. Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah. And so that should be fun. We'll start in Albany. Well, actually, I'm gonna start in Manhattan, and I'm gonna go about 70 miles north from there, just because I've never been in New York City, and it'll be fun to
Okay.
ride that trail. Then I'm gonna head up to Albany, drive up there, and then drive ride the chair from Albany to Buffalo. But what else is really fun is Motion Concepts, a subsidiary of Invacare that who makes the seating systems for Invacare chairs. They're based out of Buffalo. And so I'll be able to finish there and do some consulting and talk with, the folks that are making the equipment that's allowing me to do this awesome stuff. And it really kind of brightens their day. I got to do a similar thing when I finished in Ohio, going up to Invacare and talking to their factory workers and them, really getting some pride, recognizing, that the
Absolutely.
work that they had done just got a world record, in their
Yeah.
chair, and that, that what they're doing is, allowing people to really, you know, live their fullest lives and have adventure in their world. And
Right.
yeah. And
You
so,
know, one of the topics we really didn't just, get into in depth. Matter of fact, we didn't cover a whole lot at all, is just the amount of wear and tear all this stuff puts on your body.
oh man, oh
And
man.
so,
And your chair.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, your chair, we use it for daily living.
Oh,
This is an appendage of us, but just the amount of wear and tear it puts on your body, not only your psyche, but just
yeah.
you get a pressure sore or get an issue from these things, and it can really put a dwell on you.
Yeah.
But we don't want to go on the negatives. We're just we're keeping
No.
it real, man, and
Yeah, yeah. No,
it's a lot to deal with.
it is, and I've been really fortunate to not deal with pressure sores over the years, at least not too much. But I've flipped the chair a few times, and and that's never good. The amount I probably have to switch out casters every 2 months, and
Wow.
so I'm very fortunate to have the relationship I do with Invacare, where they'll send me all the parts I need. But yeah, I'm going through drive wheels and caster wheels and bearings, much faster than
sure.
I'd like to admit. But no, I mean, I was averaging 5,000 miles a year, and that's averaging over 14 miles a day. And
Right.
that's doing it in the Pacific Northwest, where I am soaked much of the time when I'm out there, and having a chair that can withstand that is pretty special. But no, I've been fortunate physically; it hasn't damaged me too much. I did break my leg one time when I flipped a chair. It was actually at night, guys, and I flipped
Yeah.
into my phone. My phone was up on the ground, and I got no reception at all. And so I
Right.
had to just lay there and for about an hour until some cyclists happened to come by, and they were able
Right.
Take
to get
pity
me
on
up.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were able to write me, and then one of them, the lady said, "Oh, hey, would you like me to straighten your foot out?" And I couldn't see my foot. I'm like, "Yeah, please." And she moved it, and I got a pretty sudden surge of AD,
Sure.
Right.
dysreflexia, and I was like,
Dyslexia.
"Okay, ooh, might be something wrong
Yeah.
there." And yeah,
Yeah.
You're
and
going
then
to have
a
to get that
spiral
looked at.
fracture. Yeah, but it's funny. You have a spiral fracture in your leg. You have the doctor say, "Well, probably stay off of it. Don't."
Solid
Don't
advice, Doc. Solid advice.
I'll do it. I won't do much walking or running or anything.
Hey.
Ian, it's great having you on talking. We're laughing at broken foots, and it's all in the attitude that people can put out there. And
Absolutely.
we're not full of sunshine every day. We all experience tough days and go through things, but having the right attitude and surrounding ourselves with the right people makes life so much better. And talking with you, I mean, today and sharing your story and hearing, from you personally after reading and following you for so long, it's just been such a pleasure. We really thank you for coming on the podcast. We know that you have a lot going on, and we just want to really tell you thank you for everything you do and for the encouragement you give to the community around us.
Yeah. Well, I thank the community for sending it right back to me because I wouldn't be where I am without them. But thanks, Greg. And I talk fast and make it sound easy, but as we all know, I mean, dealing I got to turn in the night, right? I'm having trouble ever sleeping more than 2 hours at a time without
Yeah,
just being uncomfortable and having to turn and hauling a ventilator around the country when you're traveling and dealing with generators and such to run a cough assist machine or I
right.
mean there's a ridiculous amount of work and frustration that goes into so much of it, but I think you gotta focus on the good, right? You gotta look at
That's
that
Hey,
right.
at the benefits of it all and it's easy
hey,
to get brought down by
you,
the typical.
yeah,
Sorry.
we can focus on the negative, man, but you make it look good, dude. So, we're excited to be able to share your story, but more so to see what all's coming down the pipe.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's going to be something involving a good friend of mine from Korea and a big long ride with some other folks in the community, and then there's crossing New York, and yeah, and it's going to be a big few years coming up. But I'm just trying to stay in shape so I
Yeah.
can do it.
Ian, if people want to get a hold of you and follow your social media, is there the best way to contact you, or how should
Sure.
people?
I mean, easiest way, just go to iansride.com. And, you can always send me a message through there, but, we are on Facebook and Instagram. And, so yeah, just Ian's Ride, or feel free to look me up personally, Ian Mackay. I'm an open book and happy to chat with anybody.
That's good stuff, man. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on here and share a little bit with us, man. And, we're excited to see everything you got going on, but to see places that you're heading to. Man, this world's a small world. We got great opportunities to continue pushing, and we thank you for having guys like you in this world to push on this,
Well,
man.
you got any long trails in South Carolina I can put on the agenda
Hey,
here?
man, we got the Swamp Rabbit Trail, it all the way through it, dude. You come on down and I'll take care of you, brother.
All right, Mike. All right. I might take you up on that.
Hey, you come on.
I have trouble dealing with the heat is the problem. I mean, I don't know if I can manage. Maybe a winter, maybe a South Carolina winter would be it.
We'll,
I,
we'll pack you in an ice vest, dude. We can get you
we
covered on
got some
those South
cooling
Carolina
vests, man.
days.
We'll
That's
get you
right.
taken care of.
All right. All right. I like it. I like it.
Yes, sir. Hey, plans for the future, man. We got them.
There we go. There we go.
Hey guys, thank you so much, Ian. This was a lot of fun. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed talking with you, and an hour goes by so fast.
It
Man,
does.
I appreciate you taking time out of your day. And if you're up for it, when you gets closer to August, maybe we could have you on again or
Let's do it
afterwards.
again.
And
Let's do it again, guys.
it,
I'd love to. I'd
it,
love to.
this was a lot of fun, and thank you for everything you're doing.
Yeah. Hey, you guys keep up the great work too. But hey, we'll be talking again soon and get outside, everybody.
Hey, man, I'm gonna send you a hit up so I can steal one of those books from you too.
All right, Mike. All right, you
Hey,
got it.
yes, sir. Thank you, man. You guys have a great day.